Hello, good evening. It's Trish Hughes from Rebound on the Upstreamedia Daily Show. I'm really excited to introduce my guest tonight, Coach Roger Payne of the Warwickshire Warriors. Welcome, Coach. How are you today? You okay?
Evening.
Awesome.
Yes, I'm doing really, really well, Chris. How you doing?
Not too bad. I say it. We were just chatting before air, but it's been great having this platform to talk basketball. I've really enjoyed it during this lockdown. We want a few positives from the lockdown. If anyone's new to the channel, give Upstream Media a like and subscribe for all the latest daily shows. We have some great content throughout up to the next season, and I'm sure to look forward to see what's next from the channel. I thought we'd just start a bit about yourself, Coach. What inspired you into coaching and sort of your journey up to now with this new franchise?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna show my age a little bit now for some of the old heads. Well, I started basketball back in 1979. When you had when Coventry and Birmingham was a hotbed of basketball, and it's getting back to that now, which is great. But we had a lots of Team Fiat that were best at Coventry Sports Centre. Mike Maddox and Bob Hope were running at the time. We had some great coaches, Bob Mitchell, and then they became, as you know, Birmingham Bullets. And I played for a while, two really bad injuries, Achilles, and I turned my hand to coaching. Um, so with coaching, it showed you different aspects apart from being a player, of how you can learn to progress and help others. So I stuck with coaching, was really, really good at it. I've coached all over the world. So I've got great friendships and made great friendships. And before earlier we were talking off air, some of the guys that you knew and I knew. Your Pierre Fontaines and your Jay Williams and other guys, great ambassadors for the sport. And that for me was my decade. It was just before that, your George Branches, your Tim LaSalle's, and people like that. Great ambassadors for the game, and I've gone on to do great things. So for me, when I turned my hand to coaching, it wasn't just that I wanted to go and coach just because of my ego. I wanted to coach and make a difference. So we formed a business called Ballers Heaven, and a lot of us know Ballers Heaven through myself putting probably 20 or more players into the BBL. I was an agent, so I worked with players from all over the globe. And primarily, we used to bring in college players, talented college players, into the BBL. And, and that was how Ballers Heaven started to grow. But from there, we decided that, there was a big hole in the market for young British players that weren't given the opportunity, that weren't in the shop window. And, we decided that we wanted to pin our tent down in the UK. We travel a lot, as you know, all over the world, helping others from Europe and so forth. Get over to the States. We've got some great friendships in the States, top high schools and great colleges. Some amazing coaches out there, who we work with. And, we thought it was time that we put back into the community and people could actually come and be part of what we were trying to achieve. In the Warwickshire region. So we formed Warwickshire Warriors. It's called Ballers Heaven Warwickshire Warriors, and it'll be our debut season in a few months. So we're working hard. Obviously, with the coronavirus and stuff like that, there's a lot of protocols that we have to adhere to and go through. But with that said, the guys are very diligent, and coaches are great, and the players have been coming in, and they've been really, really showing us what they can do. So we're excited. Like I said, it's a new franchise, and we can only go from strength to strength.
Definitely. I know you're in the middle of the six tryouts, sort of to get your roster ready for next season. Also, just give people days in sort of scrimmages. What have those tryouts been like? What sort of talents have you seen, and sort of how far have people come to play for your club?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, the feedback and you know, in the distance, some of these guys have been traveling. You know, it's absolutely phenomenal. Um, we've got guys coming from the Isle of Wight. We've got guys coming from Southampton, Sunderland, Manchester, and London. You know, so I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better start, for a better response, and you know, the caliber of play and the talent um, is exciting, and it's great to see that some of these young kids are really getting it. You know, really intelligent. IQ is great, and you know, they're as excited as we are to get started and see how they do. Put the best foot forward.
Definitely, you said you sort of want to put back to the community, help these youngsters achieve their dreams, go in America. When you're sort of helping them on that journey, what advice do you think they should know? Because obviously, it's a different world out there in America compared to England. You've got different clubs, different dynamics. What's some of the advice you're giving to those guys going for that journey currently?
Well, I mean, we are, especially myself, and you know, the coaches I have working with me are very experienced as well. And it's not just myself that lend advice. I mean, you can see some of our partners behind us. You know, a great friend of mine. You know, coached him, and I've got all the respect in the world for him. Pierre Fontaine has been really helpful. His business is 360 Elite, as you can see behind me, and Pierre's been great giving advice to some of the younger guys. And you know, and what we try to, the main thing for us is education. Education comes first. You know, so this isn't just about how talented you are. They've got to realize that when they have this opportunity, more doors can open for them if their education is on point. You know, so we're not trying to encourage guys to forget about your education, come to us, and we're just going to ship you off to the States and it'll be, you know, great and hunky dory. That's not the case at all. We got to be brutally honest with these guys. You know, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. You know, some guys go to the States and they're there 3-4 weeks and are homesick. You know, so you know, they're a long way from home. They're young. You know, so some guys are very mature and can deal with that, other guys can't. But with that said, you know, there's a big market and there's a big doors and windows opening for young British and European talent. You know, as you can see with the previous World Championships and so forth, the rest of the world has caught up with America. And the American coaching systems and the scouts and coaches know this, and I speak to them all the time. You know, so they know that when you know they see British kids be 15, 20 years ago was different. You know, you had one or two. You know, obviously you had your Steve Bucknells, great player. You had John Amici and guys like that. Cole Brown, one of the first ones to ever go to the States. You know, worked with Carl at Leicester Warriors, and they'll tell you back in the day, you know, the standard, the gap between how they played in America and Europe was vast. But now, yeah, I can without a doubt say that we've definitely caught up. There's facilities, you know, guys need the facilities. That's the hardest thing. Every time you want to train in the UK, you pull down a basket that's going to cost you 30, 40, 50 pounds. So it's, you know, it's not a cheap hobby. Um,
No.
you know, but like I said, if you're talented and you want to get your academics down and you're interested in going to the States, you know, we encourage guys to get in contact with us, and you know, and we see obviously how we can help them, and what pathway we can put them on. But the key for us is, are you coachable, and how are your academics? That's the main thing for
De-
us.
Definitely. So if a basketball dreams to carry out, they've got the education to fall back on to do something else, and also the life skills that all brings. Obviously, you said that talent sort of caught up, and I know you're excited about Pharrell Wallace Steele, 70-year-old, played Bundesliga. Can you tell us a bit more about him for maybe people who are coming on to the show not realise because obviously he's been played abroad, he might not be on everyone's
Yes,
radar.
yeah,
What is it about
yes.
his game that excites you?
I mean, when you see passion um, coupled with talent within a young body, there's nothing more exciting than you thinking, well, let me mold this young man. Let's try to make his game more compatible for the States, more complete. He's a 6'7" player. who was 6'6" by the age of 13, was a GB international by the age of 14, 15, and he went on to the European Championships and played with some other great talent in the UK, i.e. Tyrese Lacey, great point guard, another kid from the region. But Wallace Steele was playing in the Bundesliga. He was doing well, and but the progression for him, he needed his academics, like we said, and the first thing we preach is, look, let us help you get your grades right, and then we can see what doors we can open for you. We can work with you every day, make you a better player, a more complete player, and we had the top high school coach from America come over not so long ago, just before the lockdown. Coach David Evans, ranked #1 high school coach in the States, and he came over and he saw the same thing we saw in Pharrell, and said, Roger, you got to get this kid underneath your wing and push him, get his academics right, because the sky's the limit for this young kid. I mean, he can play um, any position on the court. I mean, he's very versatile. His shot needs to be a bit more consistent because he can get to the hole at will, and he knows that. But we're trying to give him more strings to his bow, if that makes sense. And I mean, he's an exciting kid to really, really watch. Another one to watch as well is Josh Kubacki, kid from Manchester. He's now come down to us, England international. His passing ability and his IQ is second to none. This is a very, very smart young man, and he's unselfish on the court, makes others better around him, just like Pharrell, and they have that passion and the drive to want to play and win. So that combination with those two guys alone is going to be a nightmare for anyone. So like I said, we're really, really looking forward to putting our foot to the floor and start the season and do some damage. We really are.
Definitely. How close are you to sort of finalise the squad? Do you have ideas of who you want to get in? And maybe it's sort of time frame in your head where you think you'll be able to sort of have a full roster ready for the next season.
Well, we're looking probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We'll know 100% exactly who's going to be signed up in contracts, etc. Some we've already notified, and we're going to keep that a bit of a secret because we don't want to show our cards before
Of
the
course.
season starts, and then everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, we can prepare for this guy," and so forth. So we want people to look at it and be surprised, and but we got some really, really great talent coming in. And for those who haven't made a squad yet, I don't want to name guys who they're seeing every week at training, and then think, oh no, he's ahead of me and he plays the same position. But um, if we have this conversation again in the next 2 or 3 weeks, then I can name the squad,
Yeah,
and we can go from there and let everyone else work.
definitely. And in terms of like the tryouts, what has there been like a play that really excites you, or a combination of moves? What was some sort of highlights from some of the tryouts so far for you personally? Oh wow, that was a really good play, or that was a really good dunk. What were some of the things that excited you from the tryouts so far?
Yeah, I mean when we run, because we have to, obviously with coronavirus and stuff like that, we have to follow protocol. So we can't go full blooded as such. But some of the vision that you can see from Josh to Pharrell, like for instance, he went round a pick that was made for him. I think it was Xavier made a pick for him, fainted to go under, look made a look away pass lob, and Pharrell would have slammed it down. Came from the weak side. Didn't even see it coming myself because I thought he was way too far away from the basket. And then another play, yet again, in Pharrell again, um, come down the middle of the key, looks left, um, crosses over to the right, takes a Euro step, comes through the lane, fakes like if he's going to dunk it, switches hands, finishes with a left hand. So it's good to see that these guys are trying to develop their game and play with an ambidextrous style of basketball. Because We see it a lot in the past where guys are just solely right-handed or solely left-handed. So we encourage guys to make those mistakes in training. You know, try some things that are slightly foreign to them, and use their left hand as much as possible if they're right-handed, or and vice versa. So we're trying to gain a complete package for when these guys go to high school, the States, or even, there's some great teams out here and some great universities and so forth. So some guys may be aspiring to do their degrees here in the UK, and there's nothing wrong with that. We encourage that. It's all about education. It's about, like I said, it's about, your future and what you do outside of basketball and after basketball. That's going to last for life. But yeah, we've had some great players. We really have.
That's exciting to hear. I'm sure I speak to everyone who's watching this that we're all very excited for next season. You keep mentioning some complete package. Obviously, there will be challenges with COVID. We all expect that. But what are the biggest challenges you expected to prevent you from giving that complete package? Have you got any facility issues in terms of booking your games, or what are some of the challenges you've noticed or expect to see in the next few weeks?
I mean, we're first. We originally were looking at trying to go through a pre-season where we could at least be on the court 3 or 4 times a week all throughout the summer, leading up to the start of the season. But with COVID and obviously this pandemic, you got to take this very, very serious, and health comes first. So we just had to be patient. But what we did do in preparation to going inside, is we made sure that we had an athletics program, and a former world champion, Coach Stu, was with us, showing the guys the dynamics of sprinting, how it relates to basketball with explosion and so forth. So we had a good couple of months where we were outside on the track, and we really, really got some really, really good conditioning working, and the kids loved it. Cross training is a really big thing now in the States. So you got to be able to look at all aspects of your game and how you can relate it in other games, and how you can do the strength conditioning, speed, explosion, everything else, and how that can relate to basketball. And a lot of it does. It really, really does, because now you have complete athletes. Before it was just, we're going bounce a basketball, shoot 1,000 shots a day or whatever, and we'll see how you get on when a game comes around. It's no longer like that. You see LeBron James and other people putting in the work in pre-season, and that's what it's all about. And that's how it is in the States, high school and college. So we're trying to prepare these guys for the next phase of their life. And if it's not, in the States and it's here, they're still got to put forth the same effort. So for us, we've been able to do athletics, which hasn't been too bad. It's been great. Guys have loved it. And we've been able to get inside. We haven't had too many problems from getting inside. And, from the 1st of September as well, we'll be on the court 4 times a week, you know. So we've been really, really lucky. I know some other clubs and franchises are struggling to get inside, but we've been one of the lucky ones where the complexes and venues have said, yeah, we'd love to have you. But obviously, we've got to follow protocol, and that's exactly what we've done with temperature and everything else, and all the tracking and track and trace and everything else. So yeah, we're happy. It's a long process, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Of course.
We're all in the same boat, but like I said, yeah, we've been one of the lucky ones where we can train as many times as we need to. So yeah.
Definitely. And say you're going to be playing at Warwick, Cryfield, Sports Wellness Hub, and it's great to hear that you'll be able to go in when the season starts out, so November, October, or January. Um, Obviously, even when the season starts, there might be tons of participants watching, limited seating. But if COVID wasn't there, how many spectators could you have in that arena hypothetically?
Well, and this is the thing that obviously with the next phase now, obviously you've got 5 stages now with England basketball, and we just have to wait and see, because at the minute you're not allowed any spectators.
No.
You're only allowed, 30 on a court, and that includes staff and coaches. So I mean, we're hoping it does get, and people are really smart and decide to take this pandemic seriously. Because when you see, there's nothing more frustrating than when you see 10,000 people on the beach in Bournemouth and Eastleigh and place and Brighton and so forth, and you're thinking, "Come on, guys, are you guys for real?" You know, so, and it affects every sport, and especially basketball when it's a minority sport. And as you know, a lot of money doesn't get pumped into it, you know. So, for bigger teams that have to rely on bums on seats, to survive and pay their salary for their players and so forth, my heart goes out to these franchises because, what do they do when the season starts? They say they can throw the ball up. We're one of the lucky ones, obviously. But yeah, it's a process that we're just gonna have to just go through, and I'm sure that Basketball England will do the utmost and keep us informed, and and we'll do our due diligence and make sure that we do things correctly, and make sure that everyone's safe. Foremost. I mean, that's the main thing, is to make sure everyone's safe. So for capacity and spectators and stuff like that, yes, it'd be great to have the court full, but safety first, really. We just got to just roll with the punches as they come.
Of course, and I think we just have to wait and see what happens. But I know before we were talking about you guys wanted to walk before you run, and you've got a few teams in the league next season. But can you sort of tell me what you also got the regional league too? And can you sort of tell the viewers sort of the plans for that? Because that sounds really good for the local community and has a good pathway for players who maybe not played before to have that NBL pathway.
Yes, I mean, I don't know whether many people know because obviously, like I said before, basketball is a minority sport. But with that said, it is the second most registered sports for youths, and I think we have to, some of the work that's being done, we have to realize that a lot of these governing bodies are really, really doing a great job because you've got a pathway through the YBL. You've got local leagues in the Warwickshire League and other regions where guys can come in and play, and as well girls can come in and play. I mean, on our team that we've put in this year, we've got some females, and which is great. We just don't want to say, well, because you're of a different sex, then you shouldn't be playing. If you're talented enough, you'll play, and we'll coach you just the same as we would coach any other talented player. So I think local league is very, very fundamental because, and it's very important because that's where I came from. That's where a lot of the guys came from. Whether it's a local league in London, Birmingham, or anywhere else, it's fundamental for these guys. And not everyone can play on the national league level. We understand that, and so do the federations. But I think they've done a great job with putting the YBL in place and other associations and federations like Warwickshire League, West Midlands Leagues, etc. And I think there's more and more teams being put in every year. When I first looked at it a couple of years ago, there was hardly any teams. Now you got 40, 50, 60 teams. So Kim and those guys are doing a great job in the YBL. Mike Maddox is doing a great job over here in Warwickshire. And, there's some longevity in it, and people are playing and they're playing it hard, and there's some talented kids coming out of it. We've taken some local league kids who are going to be playing National League for us this year. So yes, we do need it. We need that support as well. And, without your local community for any team, whether you're National League, BBL, or anything else, you need to get the community involved. And we do a lot of work in the community. And we encourage, guys to come and do workshops and one-on-one coaching with us and so forth. But the response that we've had has been great, in the local community, radio, etc. It's been really, really encouraging, So, yes, we are amalgamating ourselves with the local league, and we've got some deep roots in it. I mean, we were in Spain in April last year, and we took 4 or 5 guys from the local league, to the youth championships in Valencia, and those guys continued with us. And even before we even decided to form a franchise, I've stayed positive, continued to train with us, and now we've put our National League team in. Some of those guys are the nucleus of that team and have developed amazingly over the last 2 years. So yeah, yeah, the community really, really does play a prominent part in what we're trying to do.
Definitely, it's good to hear because I feel like basketball's a sport that it's quite easy to sleep on. And in my journey, I sort of only came to it late, and I know from doing the show, quite a lot of players come to it late. They try football or another sport first, but obviously working in the community is fundamental to grow the game. What are things for you personally you think are really important to help grow the game at a grassroots level, get more people aware of it at a younger age?
I think obviously camps, you know, camps in the community and so forth, the work you do in the community as well. And not only with basketball, you got to make yourself accessible as a franchise, whether it's helping, the elderly, whether it's going out and providing food for the homeless, whether it's going out and seeing a homeless guy on the streets and you decide to help him and go and buy him, a pair of trainers or whatever, that's how connected we are with the community. It's not just about ball is heaven. It's about the family that we have around us. And if we can help anyone else and change their life, not just with basketball, um, we can change someone, help them get a better education, or they could be have any type of problem. So we encourage guys to not only come and speak to us about basketball, we encourage guys as well to come and speak to us just about everyday things sometimes that could be troubling them. So we do a lot of mentoring as well. Um, yeah, it's definitely the way forward, I think, for us, and definitely in the community where we want to be based.
Definitely, it sounds all really good. Like when I look at clubs like in the BBL doing well, you've got Newcastle, Plymouth, Leicester. They all do really good work in the community, which I think helps them grow on the field. Obviously, like you said, you want to walk before you run, but what are some of the maybe long-term ambitions for the franchise looking forward?
I mean, we've been working behind the scenes for a while now, and I think for us that we've given ourselves a 3 year plan, and the 3 year plan is to make sure that we put our franchise into the BBL. We want to put our money where our mouth is. We've got affiliates in the states and other partners who are interested and said let's do this. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're a sustainable product, and we're not just there for, as they say, one and done. So we want to be, you know, like I said, a sustainable product and has some longevity. So our goals are to, a couple of seasons on, 3 seasons max, is to put a franchise into the BBL. So that's what we're working forward to.
Wow, that's exciting news, and I'm looking forward to see that plan come into reality.
Mm.
And I know with Ball is Heaven and yourself personally, you're very invested. I can tell from talking to you about the juniors and giving them that complete package in terms of opportunity on and off the court. And it definitely seems to be something, but it's been championed by quite a lot of people. For you personally, is there a reason why you think maybe it's not done more? Uh, what are your thoughts on it? So some people think maybe that BBL should be given more chance for younger British players. And maybe some people say like the top talent's not getting to the top of this country, going to America and elsewhere. What do you think are some of the problems that British basketball should improve upon, in your opinion?
Well, I think they've got to take advice more than anything. I think that, you know, with any business, I think that you got to take advice from the guys who've been there and done it. You really have. You got to take advice from your Luau Dengs, your John Amichis, your Steve Bucknells, your Carl Browns, and people like this. Because these guys are the ones that paved the road for guys like myself and other guys, and for this younger generation. For British players to be able to go abroad. But yeah, I think they you got to sit down, you got to and think. Look, we got to get advice from these guys, pops and other guys. No one's saying that, yeah, you have to get a blueprint from them and that blueprint will be correct. But at least sit down, get them to the table and, thrash it out and see how we can best turn British basketball around and get people excited again um, about coming to see the game and having more uh, communities involved and having more funding. That's a big thing. Is the funding? The funding is inadequate. Let's be straight. The funding's a joke for basketball right now. And unless you've got deep pockets, and unless you've got backers that are invested and passionate like yourself, what you're trying to do, then franchises will struggle. Um, but federations and chairs and other lottery funding and everything else, and Sport England and so forth, they've got to really, really take some time and listen to these guys that really, really, truly know the game. And I'm sure we're not far off, but Commonwealth Games still resonates a little bit with myself. When we had to go to Parliament to beg them for funds so our teams could get on the plane, and good on the ladies. They came back with a silver medal. So it proves that if you invest and you get behind basketball in this country, good things can happen. But you gotta be willing to invest first. And the only way you can do that is speak to the right people and get the right people to the table.
Definitely, and it can be frustrating because I know a lot of people been reacting negative maybe to the federation points off about side boxes. I definitely see pros and cons. Maybe a new face might be new ideas, but I agree with what you're saying. Like you need to like hear these people's views who've been through the circuit, who have hands-on experience, and I really hope the federation reacts to that. And also, like you said, we've got the Commonwealth Games round the corner. What were some of those things you said? Like you had to sort of beg departments to get the funding. Who organised that? Was you as players, or was it did someone like spearhead it? And do you think they'll spearhead it again to make sure we get the right funding so we have the best chance of promoting the game? Because obviously people look at those big events and say, "Oh, Barcelona did well. We'll have a look at that." Whereas if we don't do well, we're not going to gain any interest. So what lessons to be learned from that as we sort of head 2 years away from the next Commonwealth Games?
Well, it's good to see that Akeem Olajuwon has put his face to it and has decided to be part of the marketing to help the awareness, not just in the region but basketball as a whole in the UK. I think it's suffered over the years, as I said, financially, people not backing it, etc. But they back teams or franchises or, as you know, governing bodies on success. So if you don't have that success, they think that well, I don't really want to back it because they've never had no success. But we haven't backed it. If you back it, and then after 5 years or 10 years, there's been no type of success, then yes, you have to go back to the table and you have to say, well, look, we've got to revisit this. But when you don't want to back it at all from day one, um, then it's hard. They want us to win medals, and everyone wants to win medals. But if you haven't got the facilities and haven't got the time and the right coaching staff and everything else to put these things in place, then it's going to be very difficult for us to be effective and be competitive over the rest of these countries. They have camps that go on for a month, 2 months. Some countries are training at every opportunity, putting their national teams together for 3 months runs, and they're training every single day. So putting a team together at the last minute and expecting these guys to do well, then I don't think that's a recipe for success. I think they need to be together longer. But in the same token, they need to be backing. They need to be backing basketball, and I say, look, we're going to give you uh, this much funding and a 10-year period, and this is what we're looking at. And if we do this, do you think this is achievable? But like I said, it all goes back to, are you speaking to the right people? So yeah, again, it's a bit of a vicious circle, but unfortunately, that's just the way it is at the minute. People want to play basketball. Like I said, and yourself, it's the second most registered sport in Europe and in the UK. So behind football. So there's enough guys out there, but can we get them in these facilities without charging them, the earth to go and train? And then, do we have the coaching capacity, and do we have the right coaches, and are there enough clubs that we're invested in, and the government are giving enough to the national teams to help them to be successful? Let's get these great players that we've got from all over the UK, that are in the States now. Let's get them together. Let's put our money where their mouth is. And I'm sure that if we did have the likes of some of the great players that we've had in college and in the NBA, we'll be winning medals without a doubt. But like I said, there's so many guys that, there's hardly any money in the sport. And so they go off to America, and you don't hear these guys for another 10 years, but they're off playing in Spain or Germany, and, other places, China, Greece. So not to say that they're not doing well, but I'm sure they'd like to be called up for their country, and, we can win some medals, But it's not easy. I
Definitely.
mean, it's easy me us sitting here, talking about it. But
Yeah,
again,
no,
like I said, the right people have to be around the table for it to be able to happen. And and we've got to listen to people who know what they're talking about. We really have, as a federation. Not to say that they're not doing a great job, because they are, and it's hard, to do a job when your hands are tied behind your back, and there's not a lot of funding. It's very difficult. But the more people around the table, the more opinions you can have, and the more you can get down, and and hopefully out of that, you can the process will start moving from there. But you got to get people around the table.
definitely. And one of the like hearing these stories like from guys who've been out on the circuit, but at the beginning of lockdown, I think Llewellyn Dane and Potts Mentis that great show, and I didn't know, but like the federation could actually afford Llewellyn Dane's insurance if he got injured, and it was to age them to get that insurance money. And I imagine that's still an issue today, preventing them getting from the insurance to pay these guys if they got injured on the court. And I know we're both sort of bit we think it's getting there, but we're not sure. If we were here, come back, chat again in 5 years' time, what would you say would be a positive step forward? Would it be like BBL clubs all having their own facilities, or what for you would be a success of British basketball 5 years' time to say we were here at today, but actually since then we've done all this? What would you think to be the best thing for them to focus in 5 years to help clubs and also help the game in this country?
I think funding the more elite players. You know, you have other federations that are funding elite players to go and be able to train all year round. To not have to pay them to go in facilities, not have to wait till their clubs call them to go and train, only 2 or 3 nights a week. If they're pros, treat them as pros. Get behind them. If they were to win an individual medal or something, they have them all over the television, because it's a team sport. Um, and it costs, probably little bit more than an independent, athlete. Then sometimes, I think they're put off by that. But with that said, with any sport, if you don't get behind it, there's going to be no success. So for me, really, I think the next 5 to 10 years is that you really have to decide how, as a governing body and how, as a government, you want to back minority sports in this country. Um, do you only want to back it when we have a little bit of success, like the women had in Australia when they get a silver medal, and then get behind them? No, it shouldn't be the case. You should be backing it at every level, um, because then you would keep the interest. I mean, there's some great talented players that have gone by the wayside. They get to 18, 19, and you never hear from them again. Um, so that's sad. But you've got a lot of professional players that could be playing in this country, because salaries are so low, because the price that you have to pay for the hire of a hall is so high that these franchises can't afford to pay them. So they go and find employment elsewhere. Because they got to survive. You've worked so hard. You've got your degree in the States, or you got your degree here, and you've gone off. You've tried to play. and you know you're getting paid peanuts. And if you go to another country, they want to pay you, you know, what's a good, you know, it's a good salary. And so, what's the incentive to stay and play in the BBL or in National League? There's hardly any incentive. So you know, when you've worked so hard with anything, it could be your everyday job. You know, you want that promotion. You know, and for athletes, it's being rewarded through salary. And so I think that if probably local boroughs and so forth didn't charge so much for the court hire, um, you know, you'd have more success with players staying in the UK, and you could develop them more and get more people on the court more often. You know, so yeah, it's easy said, but for whatever
Yeah,
reason, you know, it's not easily done.
definitely. I think you should say BBL. I don't want to be critical of BBL. I think they have good steps in place, maybe others. But in terms of competition, what can be done to give very short time in the BBL or in other places so that they get the best competition possible?
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that I don't know if you watched last year's final where you had Newcastle who nearly got beat by Solent.
I was there,
So
yeah.
so being a BBL team, like I said, is they managed to scrape that out in overtime, but really Solent should have won the game. They had more than enough opportunities to kill Newcastle in regular time, and they didn't put their foot in the neck. And you know, so it just goes to prove that with Solent, if you have the capability to be able to go and train 3-4 times a week, you will catch up with your BBL franchises. Um, because you know these guys are just as talented, just as passionate, and a lot of the guys who play in the National League went to the States. A lot of the guys who play in the National League play for these junior programs, you know. And the only reason why they're not playing in the BBL is because they can't commit to 3 or 4 nights a week because they're working. They got family they need to look after. They got bills like everyone else, you know. So unless they're given a good salary to be able to play in the BBL, I'm not bashing the BBL. Don't get me wrong. I know it's hard, and we're looking to 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 go into the BBL as well. But what I'm saying is that the gap between the National League and the BBL, you saw it yourself last year. It's completely changed. There used to be a big divide in talent, but Solent proved to everyone that no longer, no longer. And that's because they can get in their facility 3 or 4 times a week. That's the difference. Where not a lot of National League teams can only get in once or twice a week, you know, so because of costs, you know, so I don't think there's a big divide anymore. Like I said, it's the same scenario with the USA. The rest of the world's caught up, you know, so they've put USA on notice. That's why you find a lot more European players in the draft now, you know. So yeah, it's exciting times ahead. I think most definitely, most definitely. But
Definitely.
yeah, the National League's doing really really well, really well.
Definitely, you won't hear me say I think nationally is doing really well. I don't think like you to say all the national NBL D1 clubs at the same level BBL, but definitely 5 or 6 doing well. A lot of them have access to the facilities or
Oh, definitely, yeah.
have that player pathway. So like Solent, for example, Matt Diamond coaches the under 18, so you've got players there who've been through the whole pathway, which I think you alluded to. For you guys trying to have that pathway from the juniors to the seniors. And with other clubs, it's a bit harder because they have that BBL franchise but nothing underneath, and they're looking at USA players as a stepping stone to go off to the BBL. Um, I'm really being too critical of BBL because of good work it's doing. And I think actually this season coming is going to be really exciting for BBL. You've got London Lions in Europe. And
Oh
I've
yeah,
seen some
amazing. Yeah, Vince
recruitments
is doing an amazing
elsewhere.
job.
Definitely. What do you think that'll do for the BBL having Lions obviously got their extra investment and obviously they'll be competing in Europe this season? Do you think that have a real good knock-on effect for the BBL in general?
Well, we're hoping so. I mean, you're hoping so. You're hoping that you know you have big conglomerates that are coming and say, you know what, is there a team that I can invest in? You know, like your Newcastles and other teams below them, because this ain't just about London Lions. Obviously, they've made a first step. I mean, but you remember back in the day when you had Steve Bontrager and people like that, and London Towers and Carl Brown, and these guys were playing against Bologna and Panathinaikos and these guys in the EuroLeague all the time. You know, Steve Butler and these guys who were playing in EuroLeague. You know, so it's nothing new, but it hasn't been done in such a while. I really congratulate Vince and the London Lions for being able to get the backing and making this happen. Um, I know they've had a few glitches along the way with the league saying that they can't play their Americans and so forth.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but I wish them all. I wish them all the best. I mean, they should be quite successful. Some of the guys they're bringing in, it's phenomenal. So it'd be good to see how they get on. But I think for the rest of the league, I think you got to put your best foot forward, and you got to get out there and you got to start trying to sell your product and start trying to sell your franchise. Um, I think of too many times we sit in our laurels and we say, "Oh, well, it'll be all right." Yeah, I'm happy as I am. But if you really, really want to be successful in this game, you got to put yourself in the shop window. You got to really brand yourself. And I think that's what Vince has done a great job doing over the years. And I commend him for that.
definitely. I remember hearing that news of it was last week when they said the league wouldn't approve them interchange use those things. And for me, I like to see a game of Jenga when the opposing player just pulls out two from the same brick, and I was like, if there was any decision to make that topple, that was a decision. You need to be helping building them up, and hopefully they'll reverse it. But I think the time movement was difficult. So I do appreciate like those are BBL clubs, so you got all their roster set, and then they're like here, but lines were like, oh, they want to change things. So I think if they
Mm.
made us ask that at the start, at the end of last season, maybe they would have got a different response. But it's a shame because I thought, oh gosh, to me that was like a big red flag to say this won't last one season. I'd imagine those American players on the fence. Am I playing the BBL or am I just playing in the midweek?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
a really
crazy,
hard
man.
decision for them, isn't it?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's crazy. It's like if they think London's going to be too strong for the league now. Do you know what I mean? Just because they're going into just because they're going to Euro, and with some of the players they're bringing in. But that's what you want. You want tough competition. You know. Yes, we do need more British players, more young players on these BBR rosters. You know. But it's hard. It could be the region they're in. Could be that some of them don't have junior setups. Because there are a few BBL franchises that don't have junior setups. National League setups in their area do. But so yes, it'd be nice to see basketball as a whole be one big happy family instead of you have divide here and then section here and then BBL here, National League here, and this faction here. Um, yeah, it'd be nice for us to all sit down and come to a common denominator. Yeah.
Definitely, I think we're a very passionate community. No matter if it's the NBA support community or the BBL support community or the NBL support community or the GB, but it doesn't feel it feels a bit distorted. It doesn't feel like it's a one unit base. And for me personally, watching it very closely to tell how psychologically they felt the full support of the NBL behind them in terms of them really sort of lifted them almost. They said it a few times that they felt like all the NBL clubs behind them. So I'm really hoping that like everyone gets behind the London Lions, because I think if success for one team, it's successful in the league. People don't be saying like, "Oh, London Lions do, then let's check them out." But they're like, "Okay, I don't live in London, but I live in Plymouth. I can watch Plymouth Rangers versus London Lions." And then
Yes.
you
Yeah.
start buying into the club that's close to you. You wouldn't always
Yeah.
just. So I'm hoping everyone gets behind them. I'm really happy. So I got Byron Mullins from on the show next week. So I'm really excited to
All right.
talk to him. And
Yeah, that'd be
I
great.
often feel sorry, Karen.
I said that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah. Most
I
definitely.
know. I'm really excited to
I
see
think that'd
obviously
be
on
a
that
beacon for
NBA.
the league. Yeah, there'll
Yeah,
be a beacon for the league, and I think there'll be a measuring stick for the rest of the league. I think there'll be a target in the back, no doubt. No doubt there'll be a target on their back. Because when you step up your game and you go and play with the big dogs, everyone else is going to be looking to knock you off that pedestal. Yeah. Don't get it twisted. London are going to be they're going to be targeted in the BBL because there's going to be a lot of players that think they should be on that roster that got dropped off that roster last year, etc., and other BBL teams,
Yep,
and they're going to be all right. Let's go to war.
definitely.
Yeah, it's healthy. It's good. It's good for the game. It's good for the
Definitely, and I
game.
think it's exciting. You say you want something exciting, and I think if London lies around in Europe, it's something exciting for the rest of the teams. And I definitely agree with you. Maybe a target on the back. Um, I don't know how obviously you know the game for quite a long time, but do you feel there's like a disconnect between the players and the fans? Makes in terms of lockdown, there was much media attention, but what do you think the community itself to do to grow the game further? Because I think content creators to have a really good role in terms of growing the game.
I mean, it's hard. It really is hard, especially if you have a local talented player that you're trying to get behind in the community. And unfortunately, that player's got to probably work full time. So how do you then get that player out of the community unless he's got sponsorship? So then, yet again, it's down to the back room to say, look, um, we need help, and this is the way we need to do it, and this is how we're going to do it. And then it eases the burden on him a little bit financially, and he can step away from that 9 to 5 job, and then he can be that brand. Do you know what I mean? And I can help push himself and help push the franchise. So yeah, again, it goes back to, can we have facilities that are cheaper? Will governments and boroughs do that and help us with the resources towards that? And will government back basketball as a community? And will all these federations get together and say, look, we're all after the same thing? Or the people want to keep their little slice of the pie, little slice of success, and they're happy with that. So until we get everyone together, we really can't say what the recipe is for success, because everyone's got their own views, and there's some certain boroughs that just won't back basketball. You know,
Yeah,
um, but there are some federations and business moguls out there that will. So I mean, we're lucky because we've been put forward at such an early stage for what we're trying to do, and people see our plan 2 3 years ago, and we're taking our time. Like I said, we're taking baby steps, and we've got a lot of prominent businesses and partners involved that want to take that journey with us. So I mean, we're lucky. We Don't get me wrong. We've been working hard and we've done our due diligence and everything else, and but we're confident that we're going to be taking the right steps. But like I said, baby steps first. But yeah, so back to your question, is that the guys that really really need to be able to brand and can brand to make their teams better. Unfortunately, if they're working 9 to 5s, it's going to be really really hard for them. They don't want to work 9 to 5s, but through necessity, a lot of players are having to. It'd be great if you did have talented kids like Josh and other guys and Pharrell and other kids around the country, Latrell and Tyrese Lacey and these kids that get these perks where they can go in and train for free and so
yeah,
forth, and they help develop, and coaches can help develop them and get given that big boost. But until we change the way we think and the way we think about basketball as a whole, then that's the way it's going to stay, unfortunately, for now.
definitely. It's almost a vicious cycle until one thing is achieved, the other can't help itself. And when I started covering basketball, it's so obvious, but the people involved in it working so hard, they can't actually do much more. Say not the 9 to 5 job,
Mm,
got basketball trade, got matches. It's really tough to get that exposure. But I feel if they had more exposure, there'd be more funding. And like I say,
Correct.
at some point in
Yeah.
the line, someone's got to put the money in to sort of improve that cycle. And I see you're making some good steps there. So I love your little advertising board behind you. What advice would you give to clubs to make that big uh, baby step? In what direction would you say is most beneficial in terms of finding that brand that will back you a little bit?
Well, at first, you got to be passionate about what you're trying to do. You got to live it and breathe it. Um, yeah, it just can't be a flash in the pan. You got to have that track record. You got to have that pedigree, and you got to have those connections. You got to decide, how do you want to brand your business, and how do you want that pathway of success, not only for players but for yourself. So how do people view? How will people view your business? How can people be involved? Um, and you take advice. That's the main thing. You got to take advice from people who have been successful. You can't approach people without a business plan. You can't approach people without knowing what you're talking about and being passionate about what you're talking about. People want to see proof in the pudding. So for us, having our affiliates in the States and having our conglomerates and affiliates here, um, then that's great. So we're helping, not only helping ourselves, but through helping others. It's enabled others to look at what we're doing and say, look, how can I be involved? And we really like what you're trying to do with the kids and the pathway you're trying to put them on, and how can we help you push that forward?
Definitely. And obviously, you say you make those baby steps. You'll be in the NBL men's and obviously juniors. And obviously, you want to give those junior players the best level competition. At some point, do you think of entering like the YBL, playing in Europe, or what do you think would be the most beneficial for your set of youngsters in terms of getting that better balling experience?
I mean, for us, the main thing is that we teach them the value of life first, and that education, family values, and such come first. Um, because unless we can develop good young men and good young women, then you're wasting your time. You can be the most talented person in the world, but if you're not coachable, then that's gonna relate or transpire to further life and further education. So you have to make these guys passionate first about their dream. You have to make sure that their dream is attainable, and you have to sometimes be deadly blunt with some of them. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it to the States, but hey, there's no reason why you can't go ahead and get yourself that degree, because it's going to set you up in life for longevity. For whatever you want to do, whether you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, a nurse, whatever you want to be, whatever your talent is and your passion is, go after it. Like I said, going to the States isn't for everyone. We know not everyone can turn professional here or in the States or in Europe, but there's no reason why you can't try to achieve your dreams. And by doing that, give yourself the best opportunity, put yourself in the right place with the right people, and hopefully the cards fall where they do, and you're successful. Some people's dreams are just to go to the States and play in high school. Some people's dreams are, I just want to play in college. I don't care if I make it pro. Some people's dreams are, I want to go to college in the States and they get a degree. So we help people get academic degrees, scholarships. Um, but yeah, it isn't, like I said, it isn't just about basketball. We truly care about our players, and we truly care about who we send, where we send. Because we're not trying to send knuckleheads to any high school or knuckleheads to any college. Because the last thing you want is the college coach ringing you up in the middle of the night saying, "Can't deal with this guy." So we're making sure that we first develop good people, um, young people who are passionate about what they want to do, show them the importance of education. That comes first, and then from there, basketball. Let's get better at that, and then when the opportunity comes, have them ready. Um, and put them in a shop window, and hopefully they do the right things in front of the right people, and they get the right opportunity. Um, but unless they're willing to work hard, none of this is going to happen. So we do push values and hard work, and I think that's important that every franchise does that. And you've got to be honest with your players as well. You got to be really, really brutally honest with them. Yeah, we're trying our best. We're trying our best.
Everything you said there makes sense. I imagine the more coachable someone is in terms of basketball, their potential's better. I imagine so they're more like a sponge to be able to soak up ideas and develop better. How, as a coach, what sort of markers do you feel like make you say, "Oh, that kid's got a lot of talent to make it to the next step"? Or what sort of markers do you feel, "Oh, okay, actually his dream's unattainable"? What is it about that person, but or their ability, but to you sort of says this kid's do well, and that kid maybe not so well?
I think it's all down to their drive, and a lot of that. Like, I'm going to revert back to education again. A lot of that's down to drive. If you do well in the classroom and you're used to working hard, when you get on the basketball court, that's going to transcend onto the court. It really is. Um, but yeah, you can have a kid come in the gym that's really, really passionate, like I said, have all the talent in the world, but he could be uncoachable. Could be uncoachable. And it could be one of the kids that you say, I can't send him to the States because I know that this program will not put up with any type of nonsense. So, yes, it's hard, but as coaches, I believe that we can't just be coaches. We've got to be mentors, and we've got to understand that we're dealing with 12 different independent commodities at any one time, and we need to treat them accordingly. Not everyone's the same. Everyone's mindset is slightly different. People view things differently. And you can speak to one kid one way and he'll understand it. You can give the same message to another kid and he won't understand it. So basketball IQ comes into it a lot as well, and whether they're coachable and whether they understand the principles and what you want them to do. Um, but yeah, like I said, in any path of life, some will get it, some won't. Those who do get it have got a chance to go on and be successful. And it's like I said, basketball's a teacher of life. So yeah, we just continue to help and teach.
It really sounds amazing, and I just see your passion for it and your honesty for it about these kids' journey will make for a very exciting club, and I'm really excited to see how that transcends in terms of the end product. As a coach, what would you say Coach Payne's team sort how would you say that team defines you on the court? Is it more like a defence first or pass first team? What sort of philosophy do you feel you have as a coach without giving away too many secrets if other D3 Midlands teams are watching?
Yeah, well, anyone that knows me knows I'm fiery. I'm very passionate. When I'm coaching. Um, so my players, it tends to rub off on the players, and that's passion. That's just the desire to want to go out there and win and play hard. And there's a lot of coaches in the league that are like that. George Branch is the same way. Me and George grew up together, and he's at COB, and he's the same way. He instills that same passion into his kids, and I see that. And same thing with Carl Brown. He's the same at Leicester Warriors. Um, and I think that if kids see that their coach is invested, they'll want to play harder. For me, we like to play transition basketball. We like to get up and down the court. We're going to be probably one of the fittest and quickest teams in the league. So we're going to try to see how we can go on in the season against teams, with that style of play. And if we need to go to the half court game, we can. We got some great shooters as well. So every opposition is different. But for us, it's going to be an amazing journey. So the kids can't wait and we can't wait, and the basketball's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting.
Definitely. As we were saying off air, I'm sure both me and producer Rupert will be getting in our cars to watch a game or two, if obviously allowed to. Um, for me personally, it's been a great journey, learn more about the lower leagues. Say predominantly, we focus on NBL D1 to say we bout as a one-man team predominantly, and there's only so much I can cover in terms of basketball. But I'm really excited to look at D3 because we've talked a bit about obviously T-side in the north and guys in Midlands. What other teams in D3 are you looking forward to sort of locking horns with, either in the league or if we get a cup competition, depending on
Oh,
the
there's a
start date
few.
of the league?
Oh, oh, there's a few. There's a few.
Yeah.
I mean, for are you talking about under 18s or are you talking about men's?
Either if there's a underrated team, you think,
Either.
oh, that's there is. There are some really
Ooh.
good teams down there.
Well, well, with under eight, let's start with under 18s, and I'm not trying to upset these coaches now, because some of them are good friends. But
Yeah.
I think for under 18, Stoke-on-Trent, without a doubt, Stoke-on-Trent. I mean, Jameson's got his boys playing hard. They're feisty. They don't back down, and they scratch. Taylor Newf, they scratch for everything. So but yeah, so Stoke-on-Trent's going to be one. Um, Worcester Bears, Rick Solverson's team, well coached team, well disciplined, can all shoot. So we got some medicine for them. And men's, I mean, then there's a few who are going to be gunning for us, but at the same time, we're going to be gunning for them. Now, COB, they're a good franchise. They're coached well, a lot of experience, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we get together, because I know a lot of the guys on that team, coaching staff, and everything else, and I know they're always ready. Like I said, they're a very well put together unit. Experience runs deep in that team, and experienced coaching staff as well. So, and then as well we have Warwickshire Hawks, which are right next door. And their coach Alex Birch. I know Alex very well, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about throughout the season. But it's all good fun, and that's the thing about basketball. Is that it's a big family. When a whistle's blown and the ball's thrown up, we're as you would like to say, we're enemies. But the minute the final whistle is blown, and it's all's cool, all's back to normal. But in any sport, when a whistle blows, you want to put forth your best foot, and then winning is the recipe to smiling. That's the way I see it, So you can have all the talent in the world. If talent isn't willing to work hard, then you're gonna beat talent every day of the week. So that's what we're about. It's working hard, and we'll be doing that in training, and we'll be doing that obviously in games. So the harder we train, that's gonna put us in good stead for games. So that's what we're all about. It's just making sure that we're ready to rock and roll, and we can't wait. Can't wait.
Same. I'm counting down the days that every time we refresh the page, see if there's any news about when we're getting for the new season, and obviously we're all itching and ready for the new season. Obviously, if you try out, see how many players getting to that match sharpness. But in terms of like a throwback, I love what you're saying. Like, it's a big community, a lot of love, and I to imagine you being a passionate guy. There's been some really great highlights to you in terms of like maybe like a few words said to a different coach, like which is you say when that whistle's blown your enemies. But
Mm,
looking back at your journey so far, when he moments, it was like a really funny moment on the sidelines. So that you sort
mm.
of in the evening chuckle back while you're waiting for the new season.
Oh gosh, I mean, there's been so many. I remember we were in China, and Pierre Fontaine, great friend of mine, who works with us on the coaching staff, and like I said, 360 Elite Be Honest is his business. But when we were in China, we were in a game where the first game we got absolutely obliterated. We were playing Shandong Lions, and then the second game, Pierre looked at me and said, "If you tell them give me the ball, I'm gonna show you something real good today." So I said, "Come on, Pete, just play." So we got into the game, and I've still got this on highlight. He took a charge from this one guy, looked at the guy and said, "Don't worry, I'm coming." So literally the next play, he gets the ball, comes off a pick weak side, gets it coming up between the reins, takes 2 dribbles, takes off just inside the free throw line. Ball never touches his left hand because his hands are like mitts. Couples the ball, Statue of Liberty dunk, crowd goes crazy. 4,000 people in the arena go crazy. That was an amazing play for me. It still stands out in my mind. Every now and again, I watch it on tape, and we grew great friendships over there in China, and that's one that really, really stands out. Really stands out.
Definitely, imagine, especially if you've got so many fans in the arena and that atmosphere, it'll add to the occasion, doesn't it? And I think sometimes in British basketball, maybe we're a bit too British and reserve our feelings. As I remember Honey Merton's on, they always say, "Oh, they love trash talking," but when they're told it's not done here, and I think maybe we're too British. But what's some of the best atmospheres you've played in or coached in terms of your career so far?
I mean, I'll tell you who's the most. I mean, I thought I was absolutely crazy on the sideline and was passionate. Carl Brown, Carl Brown, Leicester Warriors,
Yeah.
mate. I am passionate. Carl takes it to another level. He really, really does. But that's because he's a winner. He wants to win that badly. But yeah, man, he was a ferocious defender as a player. Come up against Carl a few times when he was at Leicester before he went over to Georgia Tech. But yeah, Carl hasn't changed at all. He's an absolute monster when he was playing and when he's coaching as well. So kudos to him. Yeah.
Definitely. For anyone watching and want to learn a bit more about Carl Brown, I think it was CJ's first episode on the show. He had Carl Brown on the show, and it was a really informative show. So if you haven't watched it, you can obviously watch it back after watching this. Were there any other sort of memories or people who sort of really sort of when you sitting there waiting for basketball, oh, that was a really good memory, or that was a really funny encounter? Like, because obviously, like you say, you go into these contests as friends, but with blows, the dynamic's different. You're both trying to get the win. What are some of the other highlights that you remember?
Well, oh my gosh, there's been so many. I remember we were down in where were we? We were down in London. I think we were down in London, and I think I was with Coventry Crusaders. I was coaching Coventry Crusaders at the time, and I don't know if you remember him. They used to call him Big Dip, Dip Donaldson. Now Dip had some of the sharpest elbows known to man. He was at Bullets for loads of probably 9, 10 years with George Branch and the rest of the guys. I think we were down playing Reading. Within 35 seconds of the game starting, Dip got thrown out. First play of the game. That's how crazy this dude was. Like, he had a guy that was giving him bows the previous time we met from Reading. Within 30 seconds, 35 seconds, Dip was gone. The referee said, "I'm not having that. Mate, you got to go. You're crazy." So Dip was like, "But I'm just trying to play hard. I'm just trying to play hard." And so so he had a reputation as the enforcer. A lot of teams around the league used to call him the enforcer. But he was another guy who, like, if the chips were down, like, it's you or him, just get out the way, man. Just get out the way. But yeah.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. Memories like that, they sort of increase the passion for a game, and it's lovely hearing your story about it all. Um, Obviously, we've got the new season coming soon. We don't know when. Um, and you said a few of the matches you're looking forward to. And obviously, I'd love to get your view on it. Interest, obviously, your new team going D3, NBL D3, and I know you've got a bigger picture in mind. But what are your thoughts on the no promotion relegation issue this season? Because for me, I thought it was a
Oh
massive
man.
blow for clubs.
Well, I was only speaking to a good friend of mine last week, Guy Rolls from Spinners, and we both said the same thing. Like you invest so much time and effort and money, travel and everything else, and these guys spend so much time wanting to get better and 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 that's put forth on the court by winning, and that seems to be taken away from you from through this concept of no promotion or no relegation. It just seems ludicrous. Um, I don't know. I don't know who thought it up, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's baffling to say the least. Yeah.
it was, and I think what didn't help though was publishing reasons why. The reasons why were even more baffling. Like the America thing, which doesn't really apply for, or the money
Yeah.
issue. If you got that's not anymore. But you likely to get bigger fans, and yeah, I think it's a way to reverse it. I just haven't matured. We could actually, in theory, have a full season, and then people, oh well, I've played for nothing then, or unless they don't want to
Mm.
join 2 seasons, at least your performance counts something going on forward. But it's really ridiculous. I feel like for me, I thought there's so many clubs like yourself, other teams ambition
Mm.
want to test themselves in the highest position possible before making an even bigger step to BBL. I don't want to criticise these
Yeah, I think.
much as that just one, but what do you
Mm.
think if if we were just talking now about how to decide what would you would like to see? Because obviously we don't know for a full season. What would your thoughts be on it?
Well, especially win the league, I could cry. but but, but
Yeah,
it's a bitter pill to swallow, especially for those whose intentions are to move up the ranks. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some franchises out there that just play. They're like, oh, we're just having fun. It's a hobby. But for like the likes of myself and other guys whose reach into basketball is not just in the UK and deep and beyond, um, you want to see guys rewarded for having played so hard throughout the year, and you want to see guys progress and play at the highest level that they can. And I think that's kind of taken away from us this year. And people want to be rewarded for that, and I think that opportunity should be given. Um, so maybe throughout the year they will review that and look at it and come to their senses.
yeah,
And yeah. So hopefully that'll be reviewed throughout the year.
definitely, and hopefully it will because say the competition is what makes it exciting. If you're thinking you've got a
Exactly.
game between you guys, you decide who goes up and who's down. You've probably got a lot more local interest from mainstream media to want to sort of cover it. Because obviously, local media want to know what's happening, and so on and so forth. I'm also like that you take this. So recently, I had Jack Bayusti on from London United,
Mm-hmm.
and he thought like if he to make one change to benefit the game, would be licensing players with clubs. What are your views on that? Do you think that'll help from an investor's point of view? Say, oh, okay, this club's got that license, that player, they're more investable as a club. What are your views on it?
Say that again, sorry, because you broke up then.
So
Sorry.
sorry. So yeah, I had Jack Bayusti on. He's the GM for London United,
All right.
and we were talking all things British basketball. And he had this idea, but if the league tomorrow brought in, say that all clubs are licensed to clubs, so it helps the branding of that player, but also for clubs, if a club wants to take your player, there'll be a fee passed on. So the club can get to fully develop the player of that club and retain the player, but also as an investor, they're looking at the club saying, what do you have? Do you have your own facilities? Do you have players? Because clubs are quite fragile sometimes. You've got players who may play for one season, but won't play or play for another club next season. So, from a coaching perspective, you could be developing this player, but might next season go to another club. What do you feel like if players were licensed to the league, would that be beneficial in terms of player development, but also clubs looking at investors?
I think that if you're talking about pro ball, then yeah, I mean there's some scope for that. But if you're talking about under 18s and youth basketball, it's down to you as a coach, and it's down to you as a franchise to be able to hold on to your players, because the investment doesn't come from um, the government. The investment comes from the parents. So the parents give their time, they invest in their kids who want to be involved in that particular sport, and they invest their money in sending them to training and camps and everything else. So if for instance a kid wants to move to another club, he's moving to that other club for a reason,
Yeah,
and 9 times out of 10, it's because he's thinking that he's not progressing. So you can't really have the monopoly on players as such, because players can go wherever they like. To be honest, it's down to the parents as to whether they're happy with their child's progression, and if they're happy uh, where they are. Same thing's going to happen to us or anyone else. We've got kids in the States who wanted to get transferred from one high school to the other. It's not down to myself. It's down to the conversation they have with the parents, and then down to the coaching staff. And the same thing with England basketball and youth basketball. You don't have to monopoly on these kids. And especially when they're playing for free.
yeah,
No, I don't think it's a good idea. But like I said, it could have worked with pro ball. But
yeah,
you just got to be competitive, and this is where I'm talking about making sure that your brand is on point. If your brand is on point and you're trying to help these kids and develop these kids, and you're taking these kids on tours, and then your camps, they're really developing in the camps, so they're bringing in the right people in the camps, then that's going to show. The proof's in the pudding. You're going to have more kids come through the doors than leave. But with that said, you have to be invested in. That's why I'm saying, like, guys who are passionate, like Carl and other guys who are passionate and we're passionate, then you're going to hold on to your kids. If you're not,
definitely.
then you'll find out soon enough. So but that's sports. That's sports in general, not just basketball. Yeah.
Definitely. I hear you with that progression, Brew, and obviously you got your progression from the local leads to juniors to the seniors, and obviously in the back of your head you're thinking maybe BBL in the next 3 or 4 years. If you were to get into BBL, what would the progression route look like for that 16-year-old kid from your club? Um, would there be like an NBL club in between, or would you just have a BBL and maybe have those players on bench? What in your head? What's the blueprint in terms of that development for the first timer joining, who maybe the most talented kid who to one day make the BBL? What would the step be?
I mean, the step would be that you would have to obviously have a junior program. You got to have a development program underneath that. 'Cause like I said, there's levels of play, and there's levels of guys who want to play for fun, and guys who are deadly serious about sports, whether it's basketball, football, or anything else. So you've got to have your youth setup. You've got to have your development underneath that. You've got to have your national league if you can get it, and this is where your branding comes in again. So for that to be sustainable, for you to be able to have your product in the BBL, so it's very rare that you find that BBL teams now have a national league team and so forth, because obviously registration is so expensive. But if you set out your stool and take your time, then yes, that's the development that we're aiming for. Is to have that youth development, that local development, then have the national league, and then have that to the men's, and then have that progression up to the BBL.
Definitely. I've really enjoyed having you on the show. I like to see both our streams. We're slowly getting into darkness, so I'll probably wrap it up in the next 5-10 minutes. Otherwise, they won't be able to see us. They'll just be hearing us and it'll be like a podcast. Um,
No problem.
Obviously, I see your brand's on point. I love that little backdrop there, little media board. It's really enticing visual. Yeah, I'm sure people say, "Oh, there's always ball in." Recognise the other brands too.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
obviously, you're a coach first, and also you're starting your first steps to franchise. We wish you all the best. Um, what advice would you give to maybe some youngsters in the area who maybe just coming across your first time or just needs one or two tryouts? what would your advice be to them? It may just repeat what you just said before, but what would be good to finish on a
Yeah.
strong sentence? What was your advice to the kid wanting to become?
Well, the
Okay,
main thing is, guys or girls out there, the opportunity, are boundless, are endless, So, you know, come along, get in contact, have a look at the website. You can find us on Instagram. You can email us, you know, and just come down and just have a look and see what we're doing. Look out for the newsletters and so forth. Look out for us on Instagram and the phases that we're putting out there, and come down and see how you get along. And I'm sure there's somewhere where we can fit you in. And if it means that you're not at that level right now, there's no reason as to why you can't keep coming and develop your skills, and and enjoy the game as it's meant to be enjoyed. So for us, we just want to just encourage everyone to come, and once we can have spectators and stuff like that and the season starts, um, we'll be ready to rock and roll, and everyone's invited. That's the plan. That's the plan. Just
definitely.
make sure that we get everyone there.
Thank you. I say thank you for coming on. Before you go, do you want to plug the social media handles for your club, or I'd post all the links at the end? Feel free to plug the club a bit more.
Yeah. So if you want to get in contact with us, you can get in contact with us at BHW, which stands for Borders Heaven Warriors. Yeah, so you can get in contact with us at bhwwarriors at gmail.com. So that's bhwwarriors at gmail.com. If you want to get in contact with myself directly, you can get in contact with me at Coach Payne. That's spelled Payne 23 at gmail.com. Go and have a look at the website, www.ballersheaven.com, and you can see what we're doing on there with camps, etc. Next year we've got Los Angeles Lakers assistant coach Phil Handy coming down. He would have been here right now in the UK at our camp, but obviously coronavirus has stopped all that. And it's going to be an amazing camp. We're going to have coaches from all over the UK and Spain, and in the States. We've got Wasat's Academies ranked #2 in the whole nation in America. They're going to be there too as well, and their coaching staff. We're going to have David Evans, #1 high school coach in America. He's going to be there as well. So we're going to have some high school scouts there that are looking to add young British talents to their program. I'm going to have a couple of college coaches there as well. So just keep an eye on what we're doing, and I hope that we see you guys again. Obviously, follow us on Instagram, and Chris will plug us in a minute for our Instagram. And I just hope that you guys get in contact and enjoy the journey with us.
That sounds great. So I'm sure your inbox will fill up with lots of people wanting to be part of those camps, taking the knowledge of those amazing, like you said, the latest assistants coach. It doesn't get much bigger than that. So that sounds a really exciting opportunity for the youngsters in the area. I hope everyone's all well and enjoyed the show. Obviously, take up Coach Payne's offer, find out more about the club. It sounds like a really exciting project, and I'm sure one that's going to grow. And I look forward to seeing how you guys get on, and maybe even eventually come to a game with restrictions taken down. So it's just great to see. Again, thank you for coming on, and stay safe. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Okay. Follow us on the official Ballers Heaven, guys. Follow us on Instagram.
You heard the coach there.
Take care.
Follow
Great
him,
to speak
and
to you, Chris.
you're
Speak to
welcome.
you soon, brother.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.